Okay, fight fans and fight fiends, welcome back to Manny's Thoughts. I, of course, Manny MTL or Manny Montreal. Make sure to check me out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, and of course, thefightcity.com. As usual, I'll give you guys my thoughts on what's going down in the world of combat sports. Let's get started. First up, before I get to congratulations, guys, out of sheer blue luck, I got a phone call from a fight fiend in Toronto that had a cancellation for his party going to Toronto for the Adonis Stevenson Jack fight. Luckily, they thought of me. Free airfare, free hotel, free VIP, free table at the fights. I had a driver. Life was frickin' beautiful. So before I start this show, I just want to thank that fight fiend who wishes to remain anonymous at this moment. Just the ticket alone for the fight could have covered my rent. I know personally I wouldn't have been able to spend that money on this. I got way too many bills and debts to take care of. So, I am forever grateful. It was a fantastic night. It was spur of the moment, last minute, but I pulled it off, and it was really, really fun. And plus, I got a night off at the fights, because usually I'm running around with a camera. I was still running around, because I'm a bit of a nut, but, I didn't have to work. I didn't have anything to turn in, so it was kind of cool to just soak in the ambiance. And I got a unique perspective, and, obviously, I'm going to share that with you guys. But before I get started, I got congratulations to give. The undercard of Stevenson Jack. What a beautiful undercard. They put it together with 3 weeks' notice, and they did a really good job. Some really great fights. Congratulations to Michael Zewski, Mbilli, and all the other fighters on the card. But I particularly want to salute Patrice Volny. Put away his opponent with a jab. I called him Vicious Volny, and the name has stuck, and it is for a good reason. Trust me, this kid is a future world champion. I like everything about him. English, French, he's poised, he's charismatic, he's dedicated to his craft, and he's getting better. Plus, he's still very young. Everything, all the potential is there. It's all positive. So, Patrice Volny, guys, please follow along. I promise you, that will be one for the future. As far as the main event is concerned, guys, I got some thoughts about this. So first off, Adonis, I frickin' told you. I told everyone, if you watch my videos on this subject, which I've done a few, I've been claiming that I smell something fishy and that Adonis better watch himself. I didn't like the fact that the fight was going to Toronto. He didn't see it that way. And I'll highlight a reason why he might want to go back afterwards, but to continue on with my point, guys, Mayweather forced the commission to take his judges. Now, the commissioner was new, and by the way, he's quitting, but for this fight, he allowed for Mayweather to pick the 3 judges. Now, the way it works in Quebec is there's 4 judges, and the commission picks 2 out of 4 of them, and then the promoter can pick the 2 other ones. This time around, the promoter had all the judges picked out. Now, 2 were from the States, and 1 was from here. And oddly enough, the 2 judges that came from the States are the one that scored it a draw. And the one that was from Canada actually scored it for Badu Jack. Very interesting. 2 draws and a winner. All for Badu Jack, technically. If I were Adonis Stevenson, I'd be really worried about that. But more importantly, there's other things I'd be worried about. The fight. I've been claiming I don't like the way Adonis Stevenson trains. And I think this fight shows. I've been saying he needs to be careful. He's getting older. He needs to pay more attention to certain things. He hasn't been. He has 0 inside game. 0. He's got 2 to 3 things in his tool bag, and he goes to those things all the time. But there's nothing else in there. When you've used everything in your tool bag and the guy's not gone, you can't just keep reaching into that tool bag to reach for the same things. Badou Jack clearly made it his fight after the 6th. And I was worried about Adonis' gas before this fight, and sure enough, it was a tough one. Now, Badou made some mistakes as well. I mean, early on, he was circling towards the left hand, which made absolutely no sense to me. But later on, his game it became apparent to me. You know, he was just clenching him and getting him tired and sticking to him, and it was good, considering he's got an inside game. Adonis doesn't, and it's hard for Adonis. He's trying to pull punches that when you don't have that in practice, if you do something 1,000 times, you do something else only 10 or 20, the thing you do 1,000 times is obviously going to be better, and you're going to be able to go to it easier. This is why you're supposed to work everything when you're preparing yourself for a fight. Crazy fight. Badou Jack made this long, big piece of red snot come out of Adonis' nose. Badou Jack stamped the ref square in the face with a punch. The glove was all bloody from Adonis' nose, so the ref just had this red face. And everyone was laughing at first. They didn't realize what was happening, but this dude's trying to wipe blood from his face. He's like, ugh. Overall, 4,700 people. Considering there was no Raptors or Leafs or anything else going on, even though they only had 3 weeks, I was a little disappointed with the turnout. And the crowd, physically was different than a Montreal crowd. There's a few things I could mention, but I don't want to get all the PC police after me. But I will say this. I was sitting in the VIP tables, which, by the way, in Montreal would have cost half the price. But, and no food. 3 hot dogs and a bottle of water, $27, folks. Air Canada Center. Man! Anyway, that being said, the crowd in the VIP tables was a little different. Whereas in Montreal, you got some scary figures, then you got some boxers, friends, and family, and then you have businessmen who are usually over 40 or 50 years old. But this was like 35 to 50 and all young business types. All stockbrokers and bankers and guys like that. And then there was a few notable boxers and famous people in the VIPs. But for the most part, I recognize the fact that there's a lot more money in Toronto. And, the crowd was different and it reflected it. As far as Adonis, though, I do see him wanting to go back to Toronto. That was the first time I heard the crowd. The crowd was chanting Superman. On their own. Superman. Superman. I was stunned. He would have never got that here. Ever. Some people cheered on Badou too, though, because when he started turning on, people started getting into it. There was a dude that tried rushing the ring earlier on with the Zewski fight. I think he was just trying to climb in the ring. But that was such a bad idea for that dude. On a Mayweather show, security was tight, and they proved it. That dude walked up the ropes wearing pants and a shirt. When they carried him out, he was wearing socks. That's it. He was wrestling and, his shirt ripped off and I saw his pants fly and everything. It was crazy. But otherwise, it was an uneventful show, as far as problems are concerned. It was a really good show. It was positive enough that I could see them wanting to do more. But this is as big as you're going to get Mayweather name-wise. And, I find they didn't capitalize on it. And part of that's the fault of Mayweather Promotions and Adonis and everyone else that was involved in making these last-minute changes. Lee Baxter. Wow. Good job, buddy. Good job. Speaking of which, he's one of the people that helped get that guy off the ring. It was just a great overall night. Now, some people are saying Badou won. I don't think Badou won. The truth is, despite the fact that I really thought Adonis was going to get robbed in this fight, I think Adonis won. And he barely won. Barely won. He did a little work in the 11th or 10th. I gave him the first 6 just based on activity. But after that, I was giving everything to Badou. I think I gave the 10th or the 11th, I forget, to Adonis just based on a spurt he did. But it was a pretty uneventful round, so that's why I gave it to Adonis. It was more a question of, I find Badou should have implemented his game plan a little earlier. And there were moments where I feel like both guys could have done more, but they were leaning on each other. Like, they were both legitimately tired. So I don't know if Badou Jack has to get back on his Ripper nutrition stuff, but yeah, no, it was interesting. Solid fight. Definitely a surprise, because everyone thought it was going to go one or two ways. Everyone thought it was going to go a 12-round decision and Badou was going to box the ears off of Adonis, or Adonis was going to knock out Badou. No one thought it was going to be a 6-round war like this. Now, kudos to Adonis, finally taking a real test. But if I were Eleider Alvarez or Kovalev watching that fight, I'd be kicking things. Speaking of which, I got to hang out with Eleider Alvarez during that fight and, just get his thoughts on it. It was pretty cool. He wasn't upset, but I think I would have been the lesser man in that one. And definitely, that would have pissed me off. The thought that could have been yours. Because I have a feeling Sergey Kovalev or Eleider Alvarez could have definitely have done more than Badou Jack did in that fight. And this had a little bit more to do with Adonis Stevenson seeming to not look as good as he usually does. That being said, if anyone watches this that's close to Adonis Stevenson, and by the way, some of the people I was sitting with are apparently friends, and we went to an after party, but I didn't hang out with... Anyway, long story short, point being, if anyone gets this to Adonis, I told you so. Please don't go back to Toronto, despite the fans cheering you on. I know that was a big incentive, and maybe the money from the tickets was a bit better, even though it was a smaller crowd. And yes, with a bigger promotion, you could probably do better out there. But if you rematch Badou Jack, it means Mayweather Promotions again, which means that big money machine behind him again, which means you gotta watch your ass and you gotta have more control of things. I've got several notes on this. If you want them, DM me. I will give you all the notes you want. I have plenty of people to my disposal who are willing to help me give you breakdowns and whatnot. If it's bodies you want, I can fill your gym with bodies for guys for you to work with. There's plenty of guys that worked with Boutte when he fought Badou Jack. Now I want to point out, despite the fact with the whole Osterin thing, Badou Jack had a much tougher fight with Boutte than he did with you. So, anyway, that being said, hit me up if you want, Adonis. I'll give you all my notes. But be careful, because it looks like the WBC is stirring things up, and so is Idris Gradovic. I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right. Gradovic. The guy that's in line, the interim WBC champ, the guy that took the place once Eleider Alvarez officially stepped aside forever, is basically claiming he wants the next Adonis fight. So we'll see what happens with that.